Why is work engagement relevant? Over the next 5 minutes, we're going to be discussing work engagement and its relevance to the higher education sector and the health service within Ireland. Work engagement is a relatively new concept that's probably only emerged in the last 10 years. What's your experience of work engagement within a higher education organisation?
Yes, I mean, I would say, Steve, that engagement as a concept is one that's probably more familiar and one that's more prevalent in the private sector rather than in our sector in terms of education. But I suppose in many ways, you know, we are an organisation that is very people-centred in terms of how we deliver our service to ultimately our customers, who are our students. Consequently, it's important that we look after them and nurture them. Key to that, in my view, is having a staff and having an organisation that is engaged in what the organisation stands for, and consequently delivers service to our customer base in a way that gives them the best possible service that they can get.
I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the change that's occurred where traditionally people have focused around job satisfaction, and that seems to have shifted towards work engagement. What do you see as the difference between satisfaction and engagement?
I think it's a really good point, Steve, because I think in the past you would have seen organisations just measuring satisfaction. So it simply would have been people coming to work and doing their job, whereas engagement is a much deeper metric. I think in the RCSI context, when I think of engagement and its difference between engagement and satisfaction, is around the extent to which people feel part of RCSI, part of the brand, part of the history, part of the heritage, and people go the extra mile and give that element of discretionary effort because they feel they want to do it as opposed to they're being asked to do it. One of the things that we strive to do from an RCSI point of view is ensure that the skills and capabilities of the people that we bring in, we ensure that there's a consistency and alignment in terms of attitude around that connectivity and that engagement. Given the healthcare environment that we're currently facing, how do you feel the IOL programs take account of that?
I suppose from a positive aspect, the participants on the programme are still looking for education, they're enthusiastic, they self-select and come onto programmes with the support of organisations such as the Health Service Executive, but also private organisation support. So there's still a culture and an appetite to learn and to participate in education. One of the things that we're, I suppose, cautious of with the mantra that often is presented, and sometimes it's just purely from words, is the more for less slogan. But if you try to unpick more for less, that actually is the recipe for burnout. So if you increase demands upon people and you reduce the resources available to them, the likelihood is you will follow a path towards burning staff out.
I mean, just to pick up on your point, Steve, in relation to more for less, I certainly think the best organisations are looking at ways and means in which they can look at productivity in a practical way and providing managers with the tools and techniques to do that. So, for example, in RCSI, we're looking at process improvement in a number of the support functions and looking to see, can we apply Six Sigma methodology that's being deployed in the private sector to an academic educational environment, which is something that is new and innovative. So I think having that environment that's supportive and encouraging of new ideas is key, because in many ways RCSI in its broadest context is an organisation that's a very entrepreneurial organisation, and maybe that's something that maybe isn't always understood from the outside, but the nature and range and type of activities that go on here, not just in Ireland but also in our overseas campuses, reflects a culture that's one of new ideas, of innovation, of constructive debate, and from those discussions and debates come new opportunities, not just for the organisation but also for individuals.
I think that's a point well made, Barry, that in many ways what's happening in the RCSI is reflected in terms of what's happening in the health service within Ireland and also our near neighbours in the UK. The introduction of looking at ways of doing things, you know, how can we do things better, how can we do things more effectively, but at the same time maintaining what is the core value around delivering services that are centred around patients' needs. So I think that's an important aspect. You can see that in terms of the introduction of Six Sigma, Lean methodologies, the productive series as well, which has been adopted within Ireland. Thank you very much for your time, Barry, and for your comments around work engagement. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on work engagement, and I'd encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.